You're watching the Prime Ticket Network, sports TV that hits home.
Can a 700 horsepower pickup truck like this one beat a souped up dune buggy with a Porsche 914 motor like this one? Well, don't count on it. The pickups have drawn a tough assignment in today's Parker 400 Desert Race. To find out who will be the one to tame 400 miles of the nastiest desert terrain in all of Arizona, stay tuned for this Prime Network presentation of the Chevy Motorsports Hour.
The following is a presentation of Prime Network. Against a clock, against an arch rival, on a strip, on a track, there's a tremendous world of motorsports racing. And now you get to enjoy all its variety on the Chevy Motorsports Hour.
Brought to you by Chevrolet, the heartbeat of America, to invite you to see all the new 1993 Chevrolets at your local Chevy dealer. And by Citgo Petroleum Corporation and Citgo SuperGuard Premium Motor Oil, the new generation motor oil for those people who won't settle for anything less than the very best. And by BF Goodrich, maker of TA Radial tires. Time was, buggies ruled the sport of desert racing. These nimble, quick machines were the ideal vehicle for handling diabolical desert terrain. But in recent years, the trucks have challenged the buggies for supremacy in the sport. For what the trucks lack in agility, they more than make up for in horsepower. But there is one race that's been extremely unkind to the current generation of full-size pickups, and that is the Parker 400. Just east of the Colorado River near the little town of Parker, Arizona, this classic desert race has been a major event on the calendar for more than 20 years. This is the one desert race, though, that the sports phenom, Robbie Gordon, has not won in a truck, although he has won it in a buggy. And Gordon is back to try again with a new Ford Ranger. Also back in search of victory are the hard luck Herbst brothers, Tim, Ed, and Troy out of Las Vegas. Troy came this close to winning here a couple of years ago, but his buggy broke down just this close to the finish line, and he was unable to push it across the line without spectator help. That got him disqualified. Another family who has a history of better luck in this race is the Lettners, who will have the luxury of trying to pad their record-setting victory total from the #1 starting spot. So keep an eye on Danny and Marty Lettner's Chevrolet. Hello, everyone. I'm Jerry Garrett, your host for this edition of the Chevy Motorsports Hour on Prime Network. We're going to have a very challenging event here today, and usually the weather is part of the challenge. But in this event, except for one notable exception, the weather will help, not hurt the racers. There will be hardly a cloud in the sky. Temperatures are ideal and only a slight breeze awaits the racers. And that is good news. A lot of the racers still remember the freak snowstorm that got them in this race a few years ago. Well, joining me today on the broadcast is champion off-road racer Spencer Lowe, a former Parker 400 class winner. And Spencer, you are a resident of this area. You know better than anybody just how difficult this course is.
Well, it really is. And you mentioned earlier about the weather. The weather, wind is really going to be a factor here. There's a lot of vehicles. Passing is very difficult. The washes are very low, so the dust really gets trapped in these washes, so passing becomes a real problem. The course, extremely difficult. You wouldn't think so, but believe me, after running 2 and 3 laps with this many cars on this race, it is really going to change.
Take us from the start in Blue Water Marina and describe the course.
Okay, we run up a sand wash area up to what we're going to see later is the main pit area. From there, we're going in the opposite direction, and we're going to go through 7 miles of the rockiest, worst terrain that you ever possibly could imagine. From there, we'll jump down, cross a road, get in sand washes again, run on some roads for an area, down into a ghost town of Swansea, and then again, a narrow wash, boulder-ridden, big flat problems, back out of that wash, up onto roads and into sand washes to a midway point, and then back down through the sand washes to the main pit area. A lot of real fast running, but a lot of real slow, dangerous running in the rock-ridden washes.
And it's going to be done 3 different times, 3 laps on this course. And when the drivers get done, they will know they've been in a race. Well, stay with us. We'll be back for the start of today's race right after this.
Vilstrop Racing Team is a well-oiled machine. It's how they work. It's how they win in tough desert racing. To beat the heat and the dust, they choose Citgo SuperGuard motor oil. Citgo SuperGuard delivers extended protection. Look for it the next time you change your oil.
How'd it go? 12 straight through.
Jerry Garrett and Spencer Lowe back at the Parker 400, and Danny Letner gets the green flag. Let's go now and talk to Walker Evans, who's waiting to start farther back.
Well, I'm definitely going to have 29 other cars in front of me. There's going to be a lot of dust. I'm going to have to, you might say, bide my time, work on it to try to get ahead of them all. The first part of this race is very rocky, very sandy and rough area. It's not a place where you can just go bonsai and take out 2 or 3 other vehicles in a hurry. You're going to have to be patient and work on it for a while.
Well, Walker's going to need to be patient, but patience is not a virtue for this guy. This is Robbie Gordon, the 3rd vehicle off the line. He's got a great starting spot where Walker Evans is 30 vehicles back. Now, the 4th vehicle off the line, this is Ron Brandt. Ron has some good finishes he's been piling up this year, and he should be a contender in today's race. More contenders. These are the Herbst boys, Tim and Ed, for whom winning this race is a matter of family honor. Let's go now and talk to Walker Evans' teammate. This is Brian Stewart. And how are the big trucks going to fare in today's race, Brian?
Well, there's a lot of competition out here, Jerry. As you know, there's a lot of trucks. Rob McEachern goes really fast. I'm going to go out and try to win Class 8, and if the overall happens to be there, I'll take advantage of that. But my main goal is to win the points this year. We've been real close in the past, and Dodge needs a Class 8 champion, so that's what we're going for.
Well, Walker Evans is going for it now. He's got the green flag, and he is underway. Out on the course, this is Danny Letner, the #1 starter, still out in front at this point. Right behind Danny Letner, the 2nd starter. Doc Ingram, and right behind Doc Ingram already, this is Robbie Gordon, and he's got Doc Ingram in his sights. Now back at the start line, Brian Stewart underway, and the first of the full-size Class 8 pickups are underway. Right behind him, this is Steve Kelly, GMC Sierra. Good Ford versus Chevy versus Dodge battle in these pickups. Mike Scheringa now underway, another Ford driver.
Now we got Gordon already approaching on Doc Ingram early on, so Robbie's setting the pace early. He's going to be setting a hard pace, and he needs to get into clean air as soon as he can.
He wants to catch up and get ahead of Danny Letner, and there Ingram pulls out of the way. That was probably a good decision on his part. You can see up ahead there the dust. That's how far Danny Letner is out in front so far.
And we've got Walker Evans going under the highway, just heading out of the sand wash off the pavement. Walker knows he's got to stand on the gas early to catch up to these guys.
Look at the horsepower it takes to churn your way through that sand. Buggy of Jim Baldwin going through there now. And here is the leader so far in the Class 8 pickups. This is Rob McEachern.
Yeah, Rob, he knows what he's got to do here, too. He's got to stay ahead. You heard Brian talk earlier. Here's Brian now. They're worried about the Class 8 battle, not the overall. If it comes to them, that's great. And I'm sure they got the same attitude.
Well, these guys have been pushing themselves so hard all year to win the Class 8 battle that they've gone faster than they wanted to, and they pushed themselves up into the overall picture. Steve Kelly now going by.
Well, you know, the Class 8 trucks, they weren't intended to do this, and they've got the Class 1 unlimited trucks, and now these 8 trucks are going so doggone fast. So, as you said, they've had to push them and push them and push them, and they're going faster than they ever thought they could.
Well, Mike Scheringa doing well so far. Back out on the course a little farther ahead. This is Robbie Gordon, still trying to catch up with Danny Letner. Letner is not making it easy for him, though.
No, and he won't all day long. They're going to be running hard against each other. Letner knows this track, too. 6-cylinder, V8 power in Robbie Gordon's truck. It's going to be interesting as this race unfolds.
We got kind of the upstart young kid here in Robbie Gordon, who's won just about everything he's raced in so far. Doing very well against the old veteran, Danny Letner. They've been out here for 20 years doing this thing with the Letner family.
Yeah, Danny's worked real hard on this truck. They have got the thing pretty well dialed in now. Robbie's got a new truck. Might have some new truck blues. We'll see.
Well, fans of West Coast stock car racing may remember the Letner family from the 60s and 70s. They used to race NASCAR stock cars, and they come out here and do quite well in these buggies as well.
Well, Danny's won this race quite a few times, and as you can see, this truck is really, really starting to work. New truck, dialed in, looking good.
Well, halfway through this race, the plan is for Danny to give way to his son, Marty, who has also won this race, so there will be no difference between the two of them as far as competitiveness goes. Down on the ground now, ground level, there goes Danny Letner. And right behind him, Robbie Gordon. You can see how close this race is so far. And Danny Letner's got to be feeling the pressure right now, Spencer.
Well, you know, I'll bet Danny doesn't even know Robbie's this close. It's early on in the race. The dust is so bad, he can't see behind him. I'm not sure he feels it at all.
Well, Robbie can't even see in front of him. I guess Danny Letner can't see very well behind him either.
Exactly. The visibility is just terrible right here. And that's what we talked about earlier without any wind. This is going to be the way it's going to be all day long unless the wind picks up. And it's going to be some really dangerous racing here.
Well, Robbie's got to watch himself here. There's a lot of disguised washes. And here goes Danny Letner down off the straight line road. And if you go zipping along there in the dust a little too nonchalantly, you'll go right off the edge of that cliff there, won't you?
Well, that's exactly what's happened. The road's been washed out there. Boy, look at how close these guys are. So you know he's running in dust. He knows in the back of his mind, Robbie, go, go, go. He's got to catch up. He knows he's got to get by him early or he's going to be fighting this dust all the way through.
Well, back at the start line, there's a little less dust for this water skier.
No dust here. The only one he's got to worry about passing is that boat.
Let's take a look at our leaderboard before we go to break. Here, still early in the race, but Danny Letner leads Robbie Gordon. More after this. Jerry Garrett and Spencer Lowe back with you at the Parker 400, and here is our leader, Danny Letner, stopping at one of the checkpoints out on the course. There's several checkpoints around the course. You got to stop at each one, get a chit to prove that you actually drove this part of the course and that you didn't shortcut.
Well, I'll tell you, Robbie Gordon would like to find a shortcut right now to get around this dust. You can see the split here has changed. The dust has slowed him down. He's going to battle. He knows he's got to catch up now, and he's got some clean air. We'll see what happens here.
Well, Robbie Gordon has been a little bit closer than this earlier in the race to Danny Letner. He's fallen behind, though, to have to respect that dust. The guy following, unless he gets a break, finds some dust-free terrain. He just has to slow down and wait for it to get clear.
Speaking of slowing down, you see a 35-mile speed limit. I guarantee these guys aren't worrying about 35-mile speed limits on these roads.
Well, we should mention that these roads are open to the public at other times during the year. And because you say you're an off-road racer does not mean you actually drive off-road in these races. You use established roads and trails. We want to make that clear that these guys are environmentally responsible. Robbie Gordon goes through, and right behind him, Tim and Ed Herbst. A close battle now, three-way for the front.
Well, remember, this dust is really going to be a factor here. They've got clean air. They're back a few seconds behind, and it's going to make a difference as this day goes on.
Well, the fourth vehicle in this mix, this is Ron Brandt. He's done very well so far, but he's back a little farther than the other three vehicles from the vehicles in front of him because he has also apparently had some problems with the dust.
Yeah, Ron looked at that stop sign and said, oh, am I supposed to stop here or go on?
Well, farther back, this is the first vehicle down the road now in the full-size four-wheel drive pickup class, and that's Jerry McDonald, and right behind him is challenger Mike Swellinger. He's already passed Mike Swellinger, it looks like.
Wow, that's incredible in such a short distance. Jerry is standing on the gas.
Another guy on the gas. This is John Swift, the leader so far in the sport utility class, and closely pursued by Danny Ashcraft. Very close battle in the sport utility class so far as well. And here's Evan Evans. He is the third vehicle off the line in the sport utility class. So there's actually four vehicles in the sport utility class that are running all very close together. This is Kurt Leduc. And that's one of the best classes competing these days, isn't it?
It really is. And look at how close they are. You can see the dust right ahead of them. Oh, look who this is.
Parnelli Jones, the 1963 Indy winner out here trying his hand at racing. He's just ahead of Racing Gardner in the unlimited mini pickup class at this point.
Then we got Scott Douglas and another one of the Walker Evans Craftsman Jeep Cherokees.
Well, right behind them, this is Jeff Lewis, the leader so far in what is called the stock mini pickup class, and that's not a very stock vehicle when you get right down to it, isn't it, Spencer?
No, it's not. We got Malcolm Vinci and Mark Hansen. They're as stock as you can get, though, for that class and make it 400 miles. Remember, this is a 400-mile race.
Well, if you try to come out here in your stock vehicle, I guarantee you the wheels would fall off before you got much more than a mile down the road if you tried to run the pace these guys are going. This is Rob McCachran. He's out front so far in the full-size Class 8 pickup trucks, and right behind him, this is Brian Stewart. A good battle among those two. They're pushing themselves up into the top 10 overall, despite the dust that they're having to contend with.
Boy, the dust is bad. In fact, this is really a good shot. We talked earlier about the battle of these pickup trucks. Class 8 pickup 10, 15 years ago, stock trucks. Look at this thing work right now.
Well, they've got, what, 18, 19 inches of wheel travel, sometimes more in these things, and they can
stock concept, though. In fact, here we go.
Right over the rocks.
This is a perfect example. Look at how smooth this thing is inside this car. It's incredible.
Yeah, you saw the wheels bouncing from the helicopter shot there. Right now, you're sitting inside something close to a Cadillac-type ride, aren't you?
Well, don't say that with Dodge now. This is great, though. You can just see it. Just little flicks of the wheel, no input at all. Just great. Just really, really neat.
Well, a good view today from our Shell Truck Guard in-car camera.
This gives you an idea of some of the slow sections. Now, remember, these guys are going to average 60 miles an hour over this course. Right in through here, they're probably running 15, 20 miles an hour, picking their way through. Big ruts already, and this is the first lap with these big ruts. Wait till the third lap when 2, 3, 4, 500 cars go through here 2 or 3 times. It's really going to be incredible.
Big boulders on either side. If you get out of the track there, one of those boulders, bang, flat tire.
Well, the other problem is there's no way to get chase crews in there. This is a real difficult area, and you can't afford to make any mistakes. You've just got to slow down through here, and that's exactly what Brian's doing.
How aggravating, though. He finally doesn't have any dust to contend with, but he can't go any faster than he's going because of the rocks and so forth.
Well, don't worry. When he gets out of this rock wash back up on the road, the dust will be back.
Something to look forward to for Brian Stewart.
And he knows that, too. You can see him just picking his way through here. Back here, he's going to get up onto the road again. We really can't call these roads. They're off-road trails. And he's starting to stand on the gas and pick up the pace.
Looking for Rob McCachran's dust now. McCachran apparently went through there a little bit faster than Brian Stewart did. And he wants to close down that gap again. Now there's the dust. And that's the margin between Brian Stewart and Rob McCachran at this point.
They got a great race going on here. You see, they spread the split a little bit. That means Robbie's taking a little more chances down in the wash.
Well, here is the leader of our race so far. This is Danny Lettner, still out front. He doesn't have to contend with dust. He must have a big smile on his face. Not so much of a smile on this guy's face, though. This is Robbie Gordon, and he is having to contend with a lot of dust.
Well, can you imagine driving this fast, out of control, and not being able to see your hand in front of your face?
More from dusty Parker, Arizona, right after this. Back at the Parker 400, this is Jerry Garrett along with Spencer Lowe, and we have a new leader in this race, and it's Rob McCachran, the leader in the Class 8 full-size pickups. And although he is not out front physically on the course, he is in front on the clock. He has been pushed so hard by Brian Stewart that he has pushed himself up into the overall picture. Still number 1 on the course physically, though, Danny Lettner. Left front damage on that Chevrolet.
That could have been why he slowed down a little bit here. You know, you have to imagine how difficult it is being the first car through. Really hasn't been marked very well. In fact, here's Tim and Ed Herbst. They're right in the battle again, too.
Well, they're up to second in the unlimited class right now, 3rd overall. The guy who was running 2nd overall before, that was Robbie Gordon. Word is that he has gotten off the course at some point, gotten lost for a little while, fallen behind. He's back on the course right now, and running 4th overall, according to our unofficial estimates. But you can see he has had a problem, and he's lost his left rear fender.
Well, you said he's back on the course right now. He's also back on the gas right now. He is moving.
Well, here's the number 5 guy overall. This is Ron Brandt, 4th in the unlimited class. And Ron having a very steady drive so far. Number 6 overall. This is the Jeep Cherokee of Steve McEachern.
Steve just cruising through here right now. He knows it's 400 miles. He's finally got some clear air, taking a little breather.
Well, running in his dust, this is Jimmy Smith, who is the defending champion overall in this race. He's fallen back a little bit, but he's still doing quite well. Let's take a look now at our leaderboard. Rob McCachran, as we mentioned, out front in his big full-size Ford. Danny Lettner 2nd, Tim and Ed Herbst 3rd, and Robbie Gordon 4th, Ron Brandt 5th.
Remember, folks, F-150 off the showroom floor. Sure.
Well, this is a 6-figure vehicle, isn't it?
Yes, it's at least a 6-figure vehicle. And you can see it right here. The thing is working perfectly. It's level, it's flat. We saw the in-car camera earlier, Brian Stewart. He's got the exact same feel inside this truck, and it's a pleasure to drive this thing.
Well, the wheels are bobbing around, but the driver and the co-driver's heads aren't, and I guess that's the indication you want that the suspension is working like it should.
Absolutely. Jerry, can I get out of this and get in that truck? I'd love to.
Well, that would be a real pleasure trip for some guys like you, Spencer, that have been driving for short wheelbase, small trucks, bashing their brains out and fight to get an inch in this race.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And this, you know, he's running in nice clean air right now. The truck is working again perfectly right here. He knows what he has to do. Just keep going just like you're doing. You're going to be the overall winner.
Well, Rob would like nothing better than to be the overall winner in this race. He feels like this course owes him one. At the top of the show, you saw a Ford truck tipped over. Well, that was Rob McCachran's truck last year out here. He was a very unhappy driver about his performance, and he'd like to even the score right now. Well, back at the main pit area, this is Danny Letner driving through, and tell us why they're going so slow through this area, Spencer.
Well, in previous years, they've had a spectator problem in the main pit area, so they've got a speed limit set up. They've got a radar gun, and they told you at the driver's meeting, if you exceed that speed limit, they're going to penalize you or even disqualify you. These guys respect that speed limit.
Well, the Herbst boys a little excited getting in here. You got to tell yourself, slow down, slow down. You don't have a speedometer, so you've got to use some common sense here.
Well, not only common sense. These guys have gone through here. They've run it. They look at their tack. They know exactly what speed they're going. Look at Robbie Gordon's back up in the picture again.
Well, he's the third vehicle through this area, physically on the course at this point. His co-driver signals that everything is okay. And that's good news for Robbie Gordon after the troubles that he's experienced so far. But out on the course, not so good news for Paul Simon. You guys have been moving. What happened?
Well, fluid's been running hot all day. We've been trying to take it easy and keep it alive and still keep up with the pace. And apparently we just guessed wrong because we burned her down.
So you are done.
We're done.
Somebody else that's done here. This is Dan Beaver, and what an accident he's been in, Spencer.
Oh, he's been over a couple of times. You can see from the front of it, he's got the push bar bashed in, the roof is bashed in, the back's all ripped off. Hope nobody was hurt in this one.
Well, this vehicle could be a total, couldn't it?
Yeah, it very well could be. Depends on the frame damage in it. Main thing, these things are built, remember, they're built to roll over, so they're a lot safer than it appears here.
Let's ask Dan what happened.
Over here before that ditch, just no brake went all the way to the floor, yeah. And I went through that ditch going way too fast. I knew we were going over. We just had to brace ourselves, hope for the best. And she hit right on the front end and just went into the ramp.
Looks like there's a lot of damage to the frame and so forth.
Yeah, it's.
How's your co-driver doing?
He's doing okay. I think first he took a heck of a shot on the head or something because he just didn't even know where he's at. But
let's go, Steve. We got
coming around now.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm all right. Just a little excited.
You know, that's the fourth dip in a sequence right there. And I know when I pre-ran that course, I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, and then stand on the gas again. You got to watch out, and this is what happens.
Well, we're starting to see the Parker 400 course now claim some victims. Paul Simon we saw out of the race, Dan Beaver. Now look who else is out. Rob McCachran, our overall leader, out with a broken transmission. Parnelli Jones and Evan Evans also on the sidelines. We'll be back for more from treacherous Parker, Arizona, right after this.
I've been racing since about 1933. And I care about this truck.
Right.
I really care about this truck. I choose Citgo SuperGuard because I build these engines to win. You know how I want you to drive this truck.
Hard and fast?
Hard and fast. You can't buy a better motor oil.
Back at the Parker 400, Jerry Garrett along with Spencer Lowe, and we got problems in the pits for Robbie Gordon.
Well, think about the frustration level here. Robbie was leading the race, got lost, got back on the course, lost for 10 or 15 minutes, caught back up to third place overall. Now he's back in the pits again. Another problem.
Well, here's another vehicle coming through the bushes over there around the corner. About ready to put Robbie in another position farther down in the order. That's Ron Brandt. So while Robbie sits, the competition motors down the road. Word is that his brake pedal fell off, Spencer.
Well, remember, it's a new truck, and we talked about new truck blues. That's probably exactly what happened here. Just something happened.
Oh, Robbie doesn't need brakes anyway, the way he drives, does he?
Well, you're right. Now, why? I wonder why he stopped here then.
Well, this is taking some time right now. It's very frustrating. And meanwhile, another vehicle goes by while Robbie is parked here. That's Jimmy Smith, the defending champion in the Parker 400. And he's up in the top 5 overall. Looks like they've got the problem solved now. Or at least Robbie decides he's going to go with what he's got.
Yeah, I say, I don't need any brakes. Let's go. No, they fueled him up. They've done a pit stop here, got the problem fixed. He saw all those vehicles pass him. He knows he's got to get through their dust to get back up in front again.
Now, this is the midway pit area here. We saw on our course map earlier, that's Jerry Penhall going by, and he is up knocking on the door of the top 5 overall. And this is
Jason Baldwin.
Is it Jason or Jim? His dad and his son, they both drive identical buggies here. And it is Jason.
Yeah, Jason all the way. They've got a heck of a team here. Porsche powered 3 cars, in fact, that they're driving as a team, and they've done very well this year, really well.
Well, this is one of the main pit areas here. It's not the main pit, but most of the drivers, because of the length of the course this year, have decided to pit out at Midway rather than the main pit.
And that makes a lot of sense. They can go a lap and a half between pitting. It eliminates one pit stop. Might be a wise decision, might not, depending on how long this race goes into the night. That's going to be the key here. If they time their stops properly, where they can get their lights going and get them back into the race in the night.
But if you do have a major problem, it's better to stop in the main pit than this outpost out here because there's better access. Now, there goes Tim and Ed Herbst. They have just made a pit stop a little farther on up the road, and they're back underway now. Oh, and here's Danny Letner. He's fallen behind a little bit, and the word is he hit a tree, and we can see he's got a lot of damage.
Well, his front end's gone, but that doesn't mean anything. Remember, it's fiberglass, but they're going to do a normal pit stop, check the car out. In fact, they're getting ready to put lights on it now, so he must be back quite a bit.
Could they have knocked their light brackets askew, or maybe knocked them off with hitting that tree?
Well, absolutely. They just did a driver change there, too.
Well, Marty Letner, Danny Letner's son, in the vehicle now. Marty has won this race before. There goes Danny sitting by the sideline in his red and white driver's suit. He looks like he's had a rough experience out there. Marty back out. Hopefully he's got a good vehicle under him right now.
Oh, I'm sure he does. Danny's a very experienced driver.
Well, out on the course right now, here is the #1 vehicle on the highway at the moment. This is Tim and Ed Herbst, and their buggy is doing very well at the moment. We mentioned at the top of the show, this is powered by a Porsche 914 motor, and it seems to have all the power that they need to lead this race at the moment.
Well, you know, we talked about the battle between the trucks and the buggies. Look at the way this car is working through that rough area. It's really, really working well. It's carrying the front end, the weight's all to the rear, the power's going down. This car is the best working car on the track right now.
Well, here's the second vehicle on the course. This is Marty Letner now. Lost the front end off that Chevrolet pickup, but it still seems to be able to go fast.
Well, let's watch him go through that same section. You watched the Porsche-powered car. Now we're going to watch this car. It's working a lot harder. The suspension's working a lot harder. The car's following the bumps a little bit differently than the buggy did. It's not carrying the speed that we saw the other buggy go through there with just a minute ago.
This is a heavier vehicle.
Much heavier. Yeah, by much heavier, the buggies weigh about 2,000 pounds. The lightest truck that I know of weighs a little bit over 3,400 pounds. So there's a lot of difference there. A lot of difference in horsepower, though, also. Watch it go through this section here. We saw the buggy go through. See, it's just not hooking up like the buggy did.
Well, I don't know how much that might be attributable to damage. Now, here's another pickup truck going through there. This is Robbie Gordon. He hasn't hit anything major like Danny Letner did. And look at him go through here.
Yeah, but see, he's out of control. Letner went through there bouncing around. He's a little bit out of control. When you're out of control going sideways, you're not getting the power down. Of course, this thing is working pretty good. Let's watch it through this next section and see what happens here.
Well, watching Robbie Gordon drive a truck in the desert is like watching an art form.
Oh, Robbie, look at that thing. Robbie's just an absolutely incredible driver. To think now, he's back in the 3rd spot. Been down with pit problems, been down with a lost course. This guy's just lighting this track up.
Well, here's a steady performer. This is Ron Brandt. He's been in 4th overall no matter what the guys around him are doing all day, and he seems to be having no problems, no damage to that buggy, and he's got a good run going.
Well, he does. He's got a nice steady pace going through there. He knows it's a 400-mile race. It's not going to be one in the first lap or the second lap. Hold your position. Get ready for the dark.
Well, here is the vehicle that is 4th overall right at the moment. This is Jerry Penhall. He really vaults off that little viaduct there. And that had to jar everybody's teeth. Right behind him, Jimmy Smith, so very close among the top 5 runners there.
Well, he knows that. That's why he took a chance right there, I'll tell you. He knows Jimmy's pushing him and pushing him hard.
Well, it's getting late in the day here. The sun very low on the horizon. The drivers want to go as fast as they can go before twilight sets in at the Parker 400. We'll have more from Parker right after this. Back at the Parker 400, this is Jerry Garrett along with Spencer Lowe, and we are in the main pit area. You see 2 Dodge trucks coming into the main pit area at the same time. And Spencer, you don't want to have 2 of your vehicles coming into the pits at the same time anytime, do you?
No, you really don't. It's going to be hard on the crew. They've got to do main services to both of these trucks. They're probably equipped only for 1 truck at a time. They're going to squeeze them in. In fact, they're having trouble right now. Walker's back there. Where are you going to go, Walker?
Well, his teammate, Brian Stewart, got in there first, so he actually has first call on the services available in the pits. If Walker needs anything more than routine service, he's going to have a problem. They've got the lights on these vehicles now, the sun getting very low on the horizon, and we need to have the lights working on these vehicles so they can keep their speeds up out there in the desert.
Absolutely. These light bars are pre-set up. They've already aimed the lights in advance. They're just pins that they put together, install them. There's no damage in the front end if you hit a tree or whatever. That's why they're putting the lights on now instead of leaving them on the whole time.
They've got them protected behind the roll cage on these particular vehicles. We can see from our helicopter view just how busy this pit is.
Yeah, it really is busy here, and that's difficult on these guys. In fact, Brian's out first. Oh, lucky it wasn't NASCAR. They would have got in trouble for running over that air hose.
How many refueling rigs do they have in this pit? Do they have 2 refueling rigs?
I would think not. In fact, that's exactly what they're doing now. They're backing this truck up to the refueling rig. Now, that's what happens when you have a multiple car team. It's difficult. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, Walker got the sacrifice here. He started in Class 1. Brian started in Class 8. Brian's ahead. Beat him into the pit. He's got priority.
Well, Brian right now is leading the full-size pickup class with the demise of Rob McCackern. We missed out on him a little earlier in the show because of a broken transmission. Right now, Walker Evans trying to battle his way up into the overall picture. He's not very far out of the top 10 overall at this point, even though he has had some problems sitting here in the pits.
But you also have to think, Walker knows Brian passed him. Brian's got priority. As much as Walker wants to be first out of the pit, Brian got priority. Good team owner, good team strategy.
Now, Walker is the team owner, and he's the guy that has to bite his own bullet there, isn't he?
That's exactly right.
Well, both trucks underway now, back out on the course. This is the leader overall in the race at the moment. This is the buggy of Tim and Ed Herbst. This is a Chenoweth buggy made by the Dean Chenoweth Company, and there's a lot of Chenoweth buggies out here in the desert, isn't there?
Yeah, there are. They've been around for a long time. It's really a good chassis, and you can see with the Porsche power they've got in it and the way this thing is working, it's no wonder the trucks are having a hard time beating the buggies. And then you look at the buggies and you look back at the trucks and you think, well, how in the world can a buggy beat a truck with this much horsepower? But remember, weight versus horsepower and handling, of course. And this thing is handling very well here in this deep sand wash.
Well, right now we believe that Tim Herbst is doing the driving. His brother Ed Herbst started the race in this vehicle, and they traded off at halfway point like most of the other teams have done. And it looks like Tim is doing a fine job, just like his brother, staying out front. And close behind them, Robbie Gordon. This guy's been up and down off the leaderboard, and he's back breathing down their necks again.
I know, and these guys know he's back there, and they're going, what is it going to take? The guy gets lost, he's got trouble in the pits, and here he is again. He's just won't let us alone.
Well, this is a new truck. It's not supposed to work very good anyway, and he's defying all the laws right now that says you can't have problems and be up in the top. Well, here's a guy who's had a problem. This is Dan Smith, his Ford Bronco being towed back to the pits now by one of his chase crew vehicles. Looks like Dan Smith will not repeat his victory in the Parker 400 that he had a year ago. Here's some other vehicles that are out of the race now besides Dan Smith, Perry O'Neill, Frank Turbin, Brian Collins out of the race, as is Jerry Penhall, who was running 5th overall. Now, here's a vehicle that's doing very well in this race. This is the big Ford pickup, Mike Scheringa. He's very close behind Brian Stewart for the Class 8 full-size pickup lead.
Well, you know, Mike's from Blytheberry, which is right, this is his backyard virtually here, and he's had a chance to look at this course. He knows what he needs to do here. Let's see if he can do it.
Well, here's Brian Stewart out on the course right now. He has the lead, as we mentioned, in the full-size pickup class. He has our in-car camera. He's done a fine job for us today, showing some very interesting pictures to us. So far, he is doing very well in this race, and he is up in the top 10 overall at this moment.
Well, it won't be too long before these guys are going to have to turn the lights on. Sun's starting to go away. Really hard driving in the dust with the sun and this type of light. In fact, you can see right here the difference. It's just very, very different.
Well, this is not Deschambault. This is Walker Evans, and he's been able to drive back up a little closer behind his teammate. He wants to get back up in the overall picture, too. He is running in a different class with this vehicle, and he should be a little farther ahead on the course, but he's had some problems.
Well, here's why Walker's not passing Brian right here. Got Steve Kelly running second place. He's not going to take any chances and give any kind of a disadvantage to Brian. He's got to stay ahead of Steve Kelly.
He's blocking for his teammate then right now.
Well, I don't know if he's blocking. He's just not passing to create any problems in the future. Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. And you can see the dust here. The light's going away. They're running hard. It's hard to see right now. It's hard to pick out the rocks. You can see the plants and the trees and the rocks. It's very, very difficult right now with the sun going away.
Brian Stewart having a very good run so far. No problems that we know of on this Big Dodge pickup. He is well on his way towards a very good finish if he can just keep it up. Well, we're on the final lap now of the Parker 400. Darkness is approaching. We'll be back for more right after this. Back at the Parker 400, this is Jerry Garrett along with Spencer Lowe. And Spencer, the lights are on.
The lights are on. Different complexion, shall we say, of this race right now.
Oh, and Brian Stewart just goes past Jerry McDonald, who was broken down in that ditch, a very dangerous situation. Let's break away from Brian right now and go and see what had happened to Jerry McDonald. This is a very treacherous spot. He's on the outside of a corner here. A lot of vehicles have come through here. You see all the brush and stuff broken down. And let's talk to Jerry and see if we can find out what the problem is.
Well, we've had this brake problem. You see my feet are covered with brake fluid. Coming into this corner here, I couldn't get it slowed down in time. We ended up coming off this bank and hitting here and ripped the front wheel off. Tore the ball joint out, so they're fixing it now. And good old crew will be back here in a few minutes and we'll be back on our way.
Well, Jerry wants to be out of this position because here comes Pat Dean with right behind him. That's Walker Evans, and boy, that's a blind corner for the guy falling in the dust there. He could have plowed right into that wreck.
Absolutely, and there was a tree blocking it on top of everything else, so that really makes it complicated. I'm surprised Jerry's not standing up on the top right there directing traffic around the car to make sure that his co-driver's working on it. What's going on here? We got a hood about ready to fall off of this thing, it looks like.
Well, this is our overall leader. This is Tim and Ed Herbst. Tim driving right now, and they've got a loose hood. And what's going to happen if that blows off?
Well, the problem is it'll block his vision. And they're designed, they're fiberglass. It'll just blow right out of the way probably. But who knows? It could be a problem. He could, just for that split second, go off course. We'll have to see.
Well, he's got to drive fast because
here he is
once again, Robbie Gordon.
Unbelievable. Look at this truck work through here. It's unbelievable.
He's giving new meaning to the word pressure, isn't he?
He's driving it on two wheels. Yeah, he really is giving new meaning to the word pressure. There's no doubt about it. And those guys know he's back there. Boy, that thing just works great. First time out for this truck. New truck.
So new it missed the paintbrush. Well, right now, here's the Herbst boys again, and they're still battling with that flopping hood, it looks like, and they're just driving as hard as they know how to stay in front of Robbie Gordon. He's only about 30 seconds back right now.
Absolutely, and you know, after that disappointing finish of last year, these guys have to keep that in their mind. They're heading for the finish line now. They remember what happened. Please, please, everything stay together. Stay together.
Well, the Herbst family hoping they can finally get a little bit of good luck. Oh, that's not good luck.
He's blind right now. He can't see what's going on. Ah, what a break there. That was a break.
Yeah, if the rear hood pins don't break off, then you just about have to stop to pull that out of the way, don't you?
Yeah, and with a 30-second difference, you know he's got to unbolt from his shoulder harness to get back in. This is going to have absolutely no effect on the performance of the car.
Coming up to pass a slower vehicle that's being lapped here.
Nice little tap, nerfing. Perfect. Get out of the way. No, that's not nerfing. That's just a little tap. Hey, I'm back there. Please move over.
Please move over. I got Robbie Gordon ready to do the same thing to me in a minute.
No, no, no. That was a good, clean pass right there. That's the way a pass should happen. Boop, little tap. No, I'm there. Move over. Get out of the way. Now, if he doesn't get out of the way, that's when the nerfing comes.
Okay. So right now, all that Tim and Ed Herbst have to worry about is Robbie Gordon and a cold leg.
Look at how this thing is carrying the front end here. Just all the traction's on the rear. The wheels are in contact all the time. Very little wheel spin. They're pointing that car. It's going exactly where they want it to go.
Well, just behind them, just out of the shot right now, Robbie Gordon is closing in on Tim and Ed Herbst for the overall lead in this race. We're getting down to just a very few miles left to go, and this is a very decisive part of this race.
Yeah, but this thing is really, really flying right here.
Well, Butch Dean, the leader at Valley Performance, has done an excellent job of preparing this buggy for this race. And the Herbst boys are making the most of it.
Well, remember last year, they still got to get to the finish line.
Yeah, they got to the finish line last year and a CV joint broke and they couldn't push it the last 100 feet over the line.
This thing is it really is, but this car is carrying the front end so great. This course is set up perfectly for this car. Or should I say the car is set up perfectly for the course.
Well, this is an interesting section right through here. This will make you seasick in a hurry. You can see on up ahead there, those mesas in the far distance. That is where the finish line is, and we're that close to the finish of this race. Let's take a look at our leaderboard. The Herbst boys lead Robbie Gordon, but not by much. We'll be back for the conclusion of the Parker 400 right after this. Jerry Garrett and Spencer Lowe back with you at the Parker 400, and we're looking at our overall leader, Tim and Ed Herbst, trying their darndest to stay out in front of Robbie Gordon in a very close race. You can see Gordon's dust just back there behind him. He's closing in on them, and it's a very, very close race here in the final miles of the Parker 400.
There's Robbie right now, and you know he knows they're right in front of him. He can see the dust. Got to go through this checkpoint here. Take it easy. Don't run over anybody, Robbie. And stand on that gas again.
Well, they're just going through the midway pit area here, back out on the final little leg, down towards the finish line. You can see the sun is setting on the horizon there. The speeds are going to go down with the sun.
So bet me.
Usually they go down with the sun. The drivers want to make the most out of the remaining twilight because you got to take a lot of chances driving this fast at night, don't you?
And you know they're going to take chances. They're both running as hard as they possibly can right here. The race, there's somebody else who was running as hard as he possibly could.
Ron Lister and Mike Clicky have gone in the same place that Dan Beaver went into. And boy, have they ever torn up their truck. Here goes Robbie Gordon right now. Oh, he's chasing the Herbst. He's going to pass him right here for the lead.
Oh, unbelievable. You know, they couldn't see what was going on in that dust.
Oh, and no sooner than Robbie Gordon passes him, he tries to turn his lights on. And what's happened? He's parked beside the road here.
Oh, no! How this thing changes. Now, I wonder what's going on with the Herbst. Maybe they pulled over. They might have had a problem.
Well, I think they just streaked right on and said, I can't believe it. Maybe we got some good luck for a change because we've had enough of our bad luck in this race. Let's go down now and see what's wrong with Robbie Gordon's truck. Battery?
You guys won't give us let us borrow your battery for a minute, will you?
No, he needs a battery. A helicopter battery ain't going to do it, Robbie. I'll tell you that. It's 24 volts and yours is 12, but we couldn't assist you with our helicopter even if we wanted to. And right now, they have a problem that's going to put them out of the overall picture in this race once and for all.
Incredible. Can you imagine that running as hard as he has? He's run the wheels off that truck all day long, and for this to happen. Whew.
Well, he's trying to get some help out here, but it's not going to arrive in time for him to get enough help to help him win this race.
Well, there's our typical Parker sunset, and with the sun, there goes the lights, and it's going to change the whole race now. With Robbie Gordon out of the race, we don't know what's going on with the Herbst boys. Got a lot of racing yet to come.
Well, here's what our leaderboard looks like now at the demise of Robbie Gordon. Jason Baldwin has moved up into second place. Walker Evans up to fourth place, past even Danny Ledner.
Wow.
Well, right now, as the twilight fades, down here in the ground, the last little leg before the finish line, we're looking for the lights of the leaders. This appears to be the buggy of Tim and Ed Herbst, and for the first time all day, they have a comfortable lead in this race, but based on what happened to them in previous years, they're not going to be happy until they see the checkered flag. The finish from Parker right after this. Jerry Garrett and Spencer Lowe back with you at the Parker 400. We're at the finish line, and the checkered flag is coming out for the buggy of Tim and Ed Herbst from Las Vegas, Nevada. And they will be the overall winners in the Parker 400. Behind the buggy of Tim and Ed Herbst, here's the next finisher. This appears to be Ron Brandt. Ron actually started ahead of Tim and Ed, so he's actually a little bit farther behind than this margin would indicate. And sorting out the finishers by the time clock is one of the time-honored traditions here at Parker. And now the third finisher coming into the finish line. This is Jason Baldwin. He'll be second overall. Let's talk to the winners. Well, Ed, Tim, Herbst, you guys finally did it for the Herbst family. It's been a long time coming in this race, hasn't it?
Sure has. Had a lot of seconds in this race, and today we just went out. We decided that we were just going to drive as hard as we could and be consistent and do it. And
you brought it into the finish. Was it tough with the visibility? You only had a couple of real weak lights.
It was tough coming in from about Ballast. So the dust was just settling, and then getting into Osborne Wash, it was just sitting in there. And then once we got cleared the pit, got the last loop into the finish, it was pretty dust severe. We just tried to get the car in.
Who was driving when you passed Lettner?
At the end of the first lap, we both pulled into the pits at the same time, and we got out first.
And then you were in front for a while, and then what? Robbie got past you right before he parked.
Yeah, Robbie. We saw Robbie about a quarter mile back behind us on this middle of the second lap, and about midway, I think he has to gas. So we knew he went into gas. So we tried to put some time on him there, and then he got us in Osborne Wash coming in, and then I guess I don't know what happened to him.
I guess he had a battery problem. We tried to turn his lights on. The car went dead, but I guess that didn't break your heart to see that.
No, it sure didn't. He got by us, and then and our motor was running bad, and then when we saw him parked, we were just going, come on, car, make it home.
It was kind of sputtering coming in here, wasn't it?
Yeah, the motor's not feeling very well right now. It was abused, I think, earlier.
400-mile motor, that's all you needed.
401.
Well, this year the car fell apart at the finish line instead of in front of it.
That's why they wanted 401.
Walker Evans coming in, and ooh, something's happened to his vehicle. Word is that he flipped it over just about 100 yards back coming into the hay bales here at the finish line. Forgot that they were there. They were set up after he went out earlier this morning. Now here the next finisher. This is Mike Sciringa. Something has happened to Brian Stewart, and it looks like Mike Sciringa is going to be the winner in the full-size pickup class. And what an upset.
Congratulations, Mike. Good job.
Well, he deserved it. Boy, look at what Walker Evans has gone through. The crew is trying to figure out what happened here. He is going to be 4th overall despite all this. Still a good finish for Walker, but let's talk to Mike Sciringa.
We pre-ran a lot this race, and we made time while we could, and we took it slow while we could, and the last couple laps we didn't have any front suspension, so we just tried to do what we could, and here we are. So.
Well, Mike's so stunned he doesn't even know what to say. Let's take a look at our leaderboard, the top 10 finishers in the race. Tim and Ed Herbst beat Jason Baldwin. Ron Brandt, a steady run all the way through there. Walker Evans dropped down to 5th place overall because of that rollover. Next 5, Stuart Chase, Mike Sciringa, 7th overall, very good. And Brian Stewart, right behind him, comes in, and he had a problem late in the going. Steve McEachin rounds out the top 10. Well, for Spencer Lowe, this is Jerry Garrett thanking you for joining us for the Parker 400. Our congratulations to Tim and Ed Herbst, the overall winners. Brought to you by Chevrolet, the heartbeat of America, who invite you to see all the new 1993 Chevrolets at your local Chevy dealer. And by Citgo Petroleum Corporation and Citgo SuperGuard Premium Motor Oil.